This is Hollywood when it was orange groves, and and a long way from how we interpret it today.
Yeah, I mean, you think of it, I mean, it's a kind of a cultural reference. The heyday of Weissenborn was in the mostly in the silent movie era.
When I started doing this, like an all-color high glue reproduction, at some level it was an act of rebellion. And what I mean by that is no one gave a fuck about Weissenborn guitars really at that time. I think they were marginalized. Everyone was doing a modern interpretation. Whereas nowadays, I think it would be more common to find someone doing a reproduction than a modern interpretation. I guess I wondered, like, what do you think Weissenborn would have made of all the fuss around his name and that it's so widely copied?
I could just be gobsmacked considering how his life was reduced at the end. He wasn't in good health. He died of like hardening of the arteries and stuff like that. He owed a lot of people. He wasn't in good financial shape, and anybody that got anything out of his estate got a very small percentage. But I'm sure he could never have imagined from 1934, 35, 6, 7 that it would become what it became. And especially with the time it took to happen.
What do you think we can do as custodians of his instruments to best honor his legacy?
Uh, I think just if nothing else, don't don't assume that something you think is a wreck is beyond hope. I've seen so many things that not only survived but thrived in from a terrible beginning, like that style four I was talking about. And I just think knowledge, making people aware
I
that
don't often admit to this, but the best, well, I shouldn't, it's not the best sounding Weizenborn, but the most musical, most inherently musical Weizenborn that I've had through the shop arrived in a black trash bag in pieces, and I spent 200 hours rebuilding it, and yeah, it's the most musical one that me and my peers have encountered. And I felt conflicted about that because I didn't really know, like, if you spend that amount of time working on them, are they still even a Weizenborn?
that style four I was talking about with the cracks and the warps and all that. Yannick Croydon actually, his first luthier, he was going to try to get in the business of making these things, as you probably know. And first luthier sat on it, just put it under his bench for 3 years, and he finally took it to another guy named Gordon Zetwitz, who had never seen one before, but was an experienced luthier, as was his father before him. And he just did a miraculous job putting this thing back together. And I put a nuclear lacquer. It's the best one I've ever heard. It's not the loudest, but it just seems like there's more overtones there.
Yeah,
It
well,
it's the thing, because it suffered so much. It has more to tell.
Ben, I think you've sort of tapped into something there that's relevant for me, and that's something around time. I think there's this universal thing that happens to anyone who's close to the Weizenborn story, uh, myself included. I think George T. Noe has suffered from this, and I think you've suffered from it to a degree as well, and that is writer's block, like quite severe in some cases.
Yeah.
Um, what do you think it is about Weissenborn and his story that anyone who gets close to that seems to suffer that?
Well, the problem I have is the more I know, the more I realize I don't know. The more I want to find, it makes me think of all this stuff that, oh my God, I don't know this happened. I don't know what the business was, and and things like that. How did he get in touch with Tom? I've the smarter I get, the more ignorant I feel.
Having said all that, Ben, I know that you're sitting on more material than anyone else combined, and I know that there's some other big collections out there and collectors in Japan and in the States as well. But as far as I know, you're sitting on more than anyone. Is there any insight into maybe a definitive book from you?
Yeah, I should get busy on that.
Uh,
But that's
can't rush these things, right?
it's you know I'm just I think once I get unblocked, watch out. I am ashamed not to have completed the book already, but now that I'm kind of writing the crest of better health now, I should I should really get after it. But I want to dig through all these boxes first, review everything because I can't even. I have no idea what I've forgotten in this time.
Ben, feel no shame. You're the best, man. We're all out here waiting for that happen to happen whenever it happens.
I
There's no
should,
rush. You seem pretty well connected. I'm sure a lot of people would be happy to help you in that in whatever way they could. I'm
yeah,
sure.
Well, I think for anybody that's a fan of the instrument, this is a great opportunity to sit with, in my opinion, the premier builder of contemporary Weissenborn style guitars, someone who's spent an incredible amount of time researching and trying to understand, what made Herman's original designs tick, and also somebody who has probably forgotten more about Weissenborns than any of us will ever know. So, on behalf of Weissenborn lovers everywhere, thank you guys for sharing all of this with the readers and the listeners at the Squareneck Journal. Thank you so much.